PC gaming has come a long way, evolving by leaps and bounds over the decades. New titles came about that changed the way that we thought about the medium. More powerful hardware redefined visuals and presentation, even rivaling Hollywood. However, beloved genres endured, with computer role-playing games and strategy titles continuing to be made and seeing great success. Nailing down any one aspect of PC gaming is challenging, but it's that diversity that really makes it shine. So let's check out the 30 best PC games that have stood out throughout the decades. Sons of the Forest. The first rule of playing Sons of the Forest is to experience the original, if only to appreciate its storytelling and how things work. Then dive into the sequel and really start to grasp all of the different tools that End Night Games has offered. From solar-powered golf carts and hang gliders with launch pads, to an extensive range of firearms, new melee weapons and mechanics like AI helpers and a revamped building system. Though its narrative won't quite hook you, the sheer amount of stuff to do on the island, inhumane and otherwise, provides hours of fun. System Shock Remake. Long development cycles for projects are nothing new in the gaming industry, but they can sometimes fail. Night Dive Studios' System Shock, a remake based on Looking Glass Studios' beloved immersive sim, which wrote the book on the genre, seemed poised for the same between reboots, delays, engine switches, and more. Fortunately, the results were far better than expected, with the revamped visuals successfully capturing the original's aesthetic. Improvements to the UI and controls also made it more approachable for newcomers without diminishing the tense cyberpunk atmosphere. Black Mesa. It's one thing to create greatness, but improving on it? Adding to it? Well, almost impossible, maybe even downright insulting, but Crowbar Collective did just that with Black Mesa, its remake of the first Half-Life. Besides visually polishing up everything about the original, it adds some great new details, and look out for an Eli Vance cameo, a new soundtrack, improved AI, and countless other improvements. Above all else, it delivers a completely different version of Zen, depicting an appropriate level of scale and epicness to cap off the incredible campaign. Frostpunk 2. Some will prefer the scope and scale of the original, but Frostpunk 2 is still worth playing. The essence of survival in a post-apocalyptic, beyond frozen wasteland weighed against more social struggles like appeasing the various factions, quelling riots, and passing bills. Progress is measured in weeks instead of months, and trying to ensure New London makes it through while offering a better life can get emotionally trying, but in a good way mostly. The heavier city builder focus may not be for everyone, but Frostpunk 2 is still a worthy sequel that ventures forth from the long dark in its own way. UFO 50. A game consisting of a collection of retro console-style games currently available on PC. It sounds odd, but UFO 50 is a work of art. Mossmouth, better known for the Spelunky series, offers 50 titles, each with unique gameplay systems, art styles, which somehow still all fit together, and plots where applicable. The goal isn't just to evoke memories of the classics, but to recreate that feeling of discovering a video game system with tons of games and working your way through. Some will resonate with many players like Magic Garden, Bushido Ball, Party House, Night Manor, and Mini and Max. Others vibe with Onion Delivery, Campanella Racing, and even Mooncat. Those experiences are then shared, and we all find something new to like and get lost in. Against the Storm. Rogue-lites have evolved by leaps and bounds over recent years, but there's been nothing quite like Against the Storm. As a city builder, players must establish settlements at the behest of the Scorched Queen in a world beset by the titular storm. Each region is randomly generated with unique points of interest and modifiers that can aid or hinder your progress, and it's your job to fulfill orders. Making the best use of the given buildings, resources, workers, and buffs is essential to this, as is expanding out into the land at the risk of raising hostility. While some may prefer a more established city to manage, Against the Storm mixes survival, resource management, and reactivity into an unusually compelling gameplay loop. Undertale. For decades, video games stuck to a set of underlying rules, primarily that you must fight and often kill the bad guy to win. Toby Fox's Undertale emerged as a desire to completely overturn those rules, resulting in a game where your every decision, even the battles you engage in, profoundly impacts the story. Beyond just the dialogue system, the combat also drew praise for its bullet hell-esque defensive mechanics and timed attacks leveraged in unexpected ways. Helldivers II. Leaving aside the whole debacle surrounding the mandatory linking of PSN accounts, Helldivers II is an excellent co-op experience. Not only does it bring the original's unforgiving combat and stratagems into a third-person space with much higher fidelity visuals, but it's one of the better live service games out there. Galactic War throws out numerous new objectives, like liberating planets to unlock new weapons and stratagems, all while telling an evoking story which has produced numerous memorable moments. Black Myth Wukong. Game Science's action RPG is pretty demanding on PC, but the payoff is immense. It showcases the sheer fidelity of the environments and the attention to detail, be it for architecture or for things like fur, in a startling fashion. Even if your hardware can't permit all of that, Black Myth Wukong is still worth playing just for the sheer joy of the adventure, whether it's exploring and discovering new side quests or engaging in the many spectacular boss fights. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. We've written a lot about the Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 game, a seemingly impossible project regardless of how beloved the first game was. The sheer intensity of the action, the swarm tech used to lasso and corral Tyranids to toss at foes, breaking open into myriad threats upon landing, each with their own intelligence. The environments, from the swamps of Kataku to the meticulously detailed base ship. There's just so much to appreciate about this title. With over 4.5 million copies sold and even more content to come, it's well worth taking the plunge and seeing what the fuss is all about. God of War Ragnarok. Is it the most visually incredible version of the game, especially with TAA compared to PSSR on the PS5 Pro? Probably not, but Ragnarok is still a stellar action-adventure title. Your mileage may vary on the stakes, but the combat is better than ever, especially with the new runes, armor sets, charged attacks, and more. And the realms are full of memorable sights. All of this with support for the latest upscalers, up to 32:9 super ultra wide widescreen, and enhanced visuals, making Ragnarok a visual feast. Alan Wake 2. The journey of Remedy Entertainment to make Alan Wake 2, from choosing the right concept and acquiring the IP from Microsoft to finding a publisher, has been long and arduous. Nevertheless, the results are as enchanting as they are darkly morbid. While Saga Anderson is a newcomer and heads up the investigative side, players still embody Wake, venturing through the dark place to find an escape, engaging in reality warping and run-ins with Scratch. Regardless of whether the original and its annoying battery ads caught your attention, Alan Wake 2 is a frighteningly effective survival horror. Cyberpunk 2077 and Phantom Liberty. Between numerous bugs and mishandled expectations, Cyberpunk 2077's launch was mired in controversy and torpedoed CD Projekt Red's reputation. Numerous updates and new features made it worthy of fans, while the PC version continued to improve with the implementation of new technologies. It all came to a head with Phantom Liberty, and shortly after with the long-awaited Metro system, and playing it today reveals an amazingly put-together first-person action RPG with incredible stories and characters to go with some of the best visuals in gaming. Satisfactory. I escaped Coffee Stain Studios' long-in-development automation title after several hours, rejoicing in finally being free for other lively pursuits. The downside is that I still hear the ticking, the clicking, the pressing, drilling, everything that made Satisfactory so good, and it's rough. The Factorio comparisons are tiring at this point, but Satisfactory is distinguished by its full 3D visuals, which play a heavy role in machine placement and elevation. Playing in first person is also a completely different experience and exercise in obtaining that ever-elusive efficiency while the world encourages exploration, each discovery prodding you to find the best way to exploit it. It's great, but it's also addictive, so be warned. Horizon Forbidden West Complete Edition. Flashbacks to when Horizon Zero Dawn first launched on PC. A disaster through and through. It would take months of updates, several handled directly by Guerrilla Games before Nixxes came on board and polished it off. With Forbidden West Complete Edition, Nixxes took point and went all out in features. Native 4K and unlocked frame rates are a given, as is ultra-wide 21:9 and even super ultra-wide 32:9. But 48:9 with support for 3 monitor setups? The fact that it ran so well at launch and is an excellent open-world game that's even better on PC, well, also doesn't hurt. Elden Ring and Shadow of the Erdtree. One of the best expansions of all time for one of the best games ever made sums up Shadow of the Erdtree well enough. No one expected From Software to deliver such a massive landmass with the Land of Shadow, and its vertical structure served as a significant departure from the base game. The sheer number of new weapon types, incantations, sorceries, armor sets, and more is made all the more enjoyable by all of the unique bosses, which challenge even the best of players. Left 4 Dead 2. Before launch, Left 4 Dead 2 faced scrutiny for not offering enough content to justify a full-fledged sequel, especially at its price. Not only did it improve on almost everything from the first game, characters with loads more personality, campaign maps with tighter-knit stories and fresh objectives, new special infected, more weapons, and an overall higher level of polish. It's since received even more content, including mutations and additional campaigns, including No Mercy from the first game. As far as co-op shooters go, it is one of the best out there, and among all the zombie titles, Left 4 Dead is perhaps the very best. Fury. Fury, first released on PC 8 years ago, had gained attention for its stylized artwork, which blended perfectly with its fast-paced action centered around epic boss fights. It managed to mesh bullet hell mechanics with boss battles, hack-and-slash action, dueling, and much more. It was an eclectic, difficult mix that garnered some pretty good critical praise. Depending on the difficulty you play at, some battles can last several stages. It ultimately comes down to patience, pattern memorization, and timing, not to mention dying. A lot of dying. Dwarf Fortress. Some games are challenging to describe, and then there's Dwarf Fortress. Bay 12 Games' Project of Passion is about building and managing a fortress of dwarves. Simple enough in concept, but it's set in a fantasy world where everything, the history, enemies, culture, environments, wildlife, from its inception is simulated. Each dwarf has their own personality, desires, and needs to cater to, but the sheer amount of unfortunate circumstances that can bring it all crumbling down is limitless. The 2022 Steam release, with its more discernible art style, allows for a better entry to the title, but it's a long way down into its immeasurably brilliant depths. Red Dead Redemption 2. Yes, it technically launched first for Xbox One and PS4, however, with next to no hope of current-gen upgrades, the PC version will have to do. On top of allowing up to 4K resolution and 60 frames per second, it also supports widescreen and multi-screen setups. The visuals also see significant improvements over their console brethren, like the reflections, higher resolution shadows, increased draw distance, better GI and AO, and much, much more. Red Dead Redemption 2 is already one of the best games ever made, and the best place to experience it is on PC. Starcraft Remastered. At launch, Starcraft represented two great things about the Blizzard entertainment of old: innovation and polishing the familiar to an incredible sheen. The Zerg, Protoss, and Terrans were unique at the time, offering different playstyles, units, and tactics, a novel concept for real-time strategy games. The classic games division improved on several things with the remaster, which featured 4K visuals with the option to switch back to the original, a re-recorded soundtrack and sound effects, and new levels of zoom. All of this and the Brood War expansion included, well, that's simply delightful. Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium is another title that really defies explanation. You play as a detective suffering from amnesia who quickly investigates a murder. This means lots of conversations and dialogue exchanges with various NPCs, but that's not all that separates it from other RPGs. Depending on your choices and abilities, your character morphs in dramatically different and concerning ways. Internal monologues, dice rolls that can lead to incredible or disastrous effects, a memorable cast, and excellent world building, Disco Elysium offers all of this and more in an unabashed, insane fashion. Portal. When the Orange Box launched, it offered Half-Life 2, its 2 episodes, and the long-awaited, destined to be legendary Team Fortress 2, all at one affordable price. However, the real breakout of this package was an unknown puzzle game called Portal. Starring Chell, trapped in an Aperture science test facility at the mercy of AI GLaDOS, it posited a simple gameplay mechanic. One portal to enter through, another to exit. This straightforward mechanic resulted in one of the most inventive puzzle mechanics ever. Portal also deserves praise for telling a compelling story with only one speaking character, nailing the pacing and overall flow without overstaying its welcome. Minecraft. Minecraft is not only the best-selling video game of all time, with over 300 million copies sold since launch, but a PC gaming phenomenon when it first launched. From the voxel art style and sandbox crafting gameplay that facilitated thousands of unique experiences to popularizing the early access model, it's synonymous with gaming. Even as more titles launch with their own takes on the sandbox crafting experience, Minecraft still stands out as an incredible experience. Baldurs Gate 3. The initial pre-alpha gameplay of Baldurs Gate 3 drew significant flack from hardcore series fans for many reasons, like being turn-based, not being dark enough. The early access period also eventually had its share of doubts, especially as years passed without subsequent acts or a release date. Nevertheless, a year after launch, Baldur's Gate 3 remains top tier thanks to the quality of its storytelling, characters, combat, replay value, and just take your pick. And though the console versions feature a good UI and controller support, PC is still the place to be. Thief: The Dark Project. Back when everyone was trying to outdo Quake and then Half-Life shortly after, Looking Glass Studios delivered a different kind of first-person title, one primarily focused on stealth. As Garrett, a thief plying his trade in the medieval-style city, players had to sneak around and steal valuables. Killing enemies was possible, but it was often better to remain out of sight and utilize your vast array of tools to outwit any opposition. Such is the brilliance of Thief, that it would influence an entire generation and then some of stealth titles. Though it received 2 sequels and a middling reboot, very few first-person titles have come close to its degree of stealth brilliance. Doom 1993. Wolfenstein 3D came first, Doom 2 provided more content and improvements, and Quake popularized the free look. However, the original Doom is the catalyst for first-person shooters. At the time, id Software proved that fast-paced shooting action with a level of graphical detail herein unseen in games was possible, and that it would have multiplayer action. Doom spawned numerous imitators and influenced the genre for years to come. The fact that it's still supported to this day, with total conversions, map packs, and entire campaigns, while constantly updated for contemporary platforms, proves that it will live forever. Half-Life 2. In 1998, Valve Corporation revolutionized the first-person shooter in ways few believed were possible. In 2004, it did it again with Half-Life 2. Following up on the original's brilliant campaign is a tall order. However, the sequel did it all, offering vehicles, large maps, zombies, a deep story, memorable characters, fantastic set pieces, and psychological horror. It made enormous pathways in physics, facial animation, lighting, and enemy AI, and gave us some of the most memorable moments in gaming, from Ravenholm to the gravity gun. A true classic in every way, and with the 20th anniversary edition now available, there's never been a better time to experience greatness. Stalker II: Heart of Chernobyl. The long-awaited sequel to GSC Game World's classic sandbox shooter franchise more than has its share of problems. Even as bugs are addressed through patches on both console and PC, some elements, like the mutants, survival elements, encumbrance, and so on, feel like they could have used some more refining. Nevertheless, it's Stalker through and through, that feeling of wandering a devastated wasteland, searching for opportunities and encountering hostile factions, monstrosities, or other stalkers. The constant battle to survive against all odds, even as ammo and supplies run low, rough weather rolls in, and unexplained phenomena like anomalies occur without warning. It may be challenging, even arduous, but it's still a remarkable experience. Microsoft Flight Simulator. Rough launches seem to be a theme for Microsoft in November, especially after server issues with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So why not return to a relatively simpler and excellent experience in 2020's Microsoft Flight Simulator? Over the years, it's received extensive support with DLC, free updates, fleshing out more locations, and community content. While Flight Simulator 2024 will doubtless get to that level in time, its predecessor is still an incredible sim experience with gorgeous visual fidelity, realistically detailed planes, and even a Top Gun collaboration. And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at Gaming Vault, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.